Friday afternoon. The big news today, United States Supreme Court allowing for legalized sports gambling in the states. And we have with us here Dustin Gouker with Legal Sports Report. Thank you, Dustin, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, if you were a betting guy, all eyes were going on this decision from the Supreme Court. Did things play out as you anticipated?
Yeah, a lot of the people I had talked to leading up to the decision today had, said that they thought this was going to happen this way. They thought that New Jersey would win and that the federal ban on single game wagering would be struck down. So not really a surprise, although, we didn't know when it was going to happen. I actually attended oral arguments back in December, and we've been waiting ever since. So, exciting day for anybody who follows sports or is into casino gaming or anything like that.
So here we are in Rhode Island. We've been keeping an eye on this very closely here. The governor, in her proposed budget for FY19, has, I believe, north of $30 million budgeted for legalized sports gaming. So what are we looking at around the country as well? We've heard here from Twin River that has both the Tiverton and Lincoln facilities as they're reviewing the decision by the Supreme Court. What are the other states that are really just now in play?
So yeah, obviously New Jersey, they're going to move quickly. They're going to be able to have betting on mobile devices at their racetracks and the casinos in Atlantic City. We've also seen Pennsylvania legalize sports wagering. West Virginia passed a law earlier this year. Mississippi sounds like it will move quickly. Delaware, which already has a form of sports betting, says it's probably going to move toward this year. And then we even saw, I think I saw just earlier today, Connecticut's governor said he was going to consider having a special session to legalize sports wagering, which they've been discussing kind of all year as well. So lots of states.
Lots of states. And you talk about the different ways to look at this here. Now, here in Rhode Island, the talk has been to have it on the premises at either the Lincoln or the new Tiverton facility. But you just mentioned other states looking at it from a mobile perspective. Again, is this just really going to shake out from a state-by-state basis?
Yeah, so you're going to see the leagues definitely look at doing federal regulation, the Major League Baseball, NFL, the NBA. It seems like they would like to have a congressional oversight. They like to have a law passed through Congress. So whether that's at all likely, obviously it's an election year this year. Maybe next year might be a better bet. But so there's an option out there that Congress could come back and say, oh, we're going to regulate sports wagering. But until that happens, we were kind of left with a vacuum where states can do what they want. So obviously states, casinos have proliferated widely in the last few decades beyond Atlantic City and Las Vegas and Nevada. So right now it's up to the states. If they want to legalize it, they can, and they can regulate it and try to tax it if they want to.
And so let's talk a little bit about that. I asked if you were a betting guy, if you thought it would play out as it did today. Do you think the leagues hold that much clout? On LegalSportsBetting.com, you had a great rundown of everyone's perspective and statements on the Supreme Court decision today. Do you think they have the wherewithal and the firepower to get Congress involved? And is it the Wild West until then?
Yeah, I think they do. They lobby already in Congress on a lot of things that aren't related to sports gambling. So, they have a lot of pull for sure. Whether they can actually get Congress to pass a gambling bill, which they haven't done in quite some time, that's certainly another question. I wouldn't bet for it, especially since we're going to see states already acting. This is kind of the thing that gaming has been the purview of states. Congress has kind of said, you do what you want as long as you're okay with it, we're okay with it. So I would not bet on a federal bill, a federal law anytime soon. But yeah, and right now we're in a world where states are kind of figuring it out. There's a lot of different policy decisions, a lot of different bills floating out there. So it'll be interesting to see what comes down at the state level the rest of this year and into next.
And so what does it look like to the average resident of an average state? A lot of folks, would go out to Las Vegas to do their sports gaming, but now if they're in Rhode Island versus in Connecticut, the stipulations, is it the residents of which, so if you're a Rhode Islander and you're traveling, which rules apply?
So it's going to apply to whatever state you're in. It's going to be a little messy probably because, if you're in Rhode Island, you have to register probably through a Rhode Island casino or through a mobile app that's in Rhode Island. If Rhode Island decides to legalize it. But it's not going to be some kind of nationwide network where you're just going to, if you're in a state where it's legal, you're just going to be able to sign in or go to a casino. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to New Jersey or visiting Rhode Island, you're going to be able to go to a casino there in theory and just say, hey, I want to place a bet, and that's okay. It's going to be just like Nevada, right? Where right now you could walk up to a casino, walk up to a betting window, say I want to put $100 down on the game tonight, and that's allowed to happen. So that's what's going to happen. The online/mobile component, that's the part that's a little stickier, and it's not quite clear how it'll turn out.
And so let's talk a little bit as well, again, Rhode Island banking on all of this money here. Let's talk about the role of DraftKings and FanDuel. We've seen some statements from them today as well. What's their role in all of this?
So yeah, DraftKings and FanDuel, two popular daily fantasy sports sites that have kind of grown immensely in the past decade. They both say they want to be in the sports betting industry. That's a little difficult for them because they haven't really been a part of the gaming industry or even the sports betting industry. They've been just providing daily fantasy where you pick players and play in contests and you get paid based on the results of those. But they have a lot of people who are really interested in sports who obviously kind of like to already gamble / entry fee is is the terminology they use. They actually say they're not gambling, but they have these big databases of people who are theoretically ready to bet on sports, and if that's an attractive thing, I think, to a lot of people who are trying to get into this business quickly. If you're a casino, you might say, hey, the DraftKings and FanDuel, they're already ready to go. They have people who want to bet, and might make sense to partner with them. So that's how they'll try to sell it. How quickly they can do that, I don't know.
Well, of course, here again, we do have the two casinos in Rhode Island. I mean, for the average person, if they're a big sports fan and they want to bet on a Celtics game, going to Twin River, is there some obviously fear from FanDuel and DraftKings about losing folks to these types of opportunities?
I think there's some danger of that, but I think daily fantasy is its own thing. It's something that's grown. People enjoy it. People do it because they like to do it. And sports betting has already existed in the United States in a pretty widespread fashion. Some estimates of illegal offshore betting top $150 billion wagered. So it's not like daily fantasy and legal and sports betting haven't already kind of existed in parallel. So I don't think it's the death of daily fantasy. I think they actually see an opportunity. But yeah, that's going to be one of the big storylines to follow moving forward.
And so Rhode Island here depends a lot on gaming receipts. Is there any concern about cannibalization of other games and gamings, folks liking to play the slots or table games in lieu of being able to sports nets, now going over to the sports book and playing instead? Has there been a look at that in terms of what the overall gaming receipts might look like in these states where there already is legalized slots and table games?
I can tell you that most of the big casino companies, like Caesars, MGM, they're looking at this as a huge opportunity to increase their bottom line. They don't think it's going to cannibalize existing gaming at all. They think it's additive. They think sports books get people in the doors, and they'll then gamble on other things, table games, slot machines. They'll go to a restaurant, go to book a hotel room, things like that. So they don't see that at all as cannibalization. They see it as, this is really good for us. This is going to help. Maybe not in terms of direct revenue. Sports betting itself is sort of a small margin business that is, even in Nevada, it's not a huge amount of all the revenue, but it does get people in the doors and it creates interest. It's a marketing opportunity. And I think that's what Rhode Island casinos will probably look at it as well.
So Legal Sports Report, you can check out Dustin Gouker's total breakdown of today's decision. It's only Monday, Dustin. What do you anticipate looking at for storylines moving forward after this historic decision by the Supreme Court?
Yeah, it's what other states move quickly. I mean, Rhode Island, there was already there's stories this morning about them wanting to move forward. So it's what other states are going to do with this knowledge now, this legal clarity that sports betting can happen. Before we were kind of guessing, and now we know. So that's one. And whether Congress gets involved, I think that's a big issue. The leagues obviously want to see something other than what's developed at the state level, and obviously it would be a lot cleaner and less messy if Congress gets involved and say, here's how you're going to do it. But I think those are the two stories that I see right away, but there's going to be a lot more to come. This is a big story, and it's going to kind of change the fabric of the United States, I think.
Well, we'll see moving forward here in Rhode Island because, again, it's part of the budget as what the governor had proposed. There is talk as to whether or not there is a separate legislative component after the state just expanded here from slots to table games not too long ago. So a Legal Sports Report, I mean, is this going to be taking up your entire plate here moving forward? Are there other stories to report on?
Yeah, I mean, we also report on online gambling and online poker, and I think a lot of states are going to be looking at those in parallel as well.
Okay.
You're gonna see mobile wagering via sports, and then you're gonna see kind of like the European model, I think, where there's all these things on one thing. I think casinos and gaming interest in Europe have found these are all complementary products and added to the bottom line. So I think that's one thing we're going to watch. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen in Rhode Island right away, but I do think states are going to more seriously look at more forms of expanded gaming and not just sports betting.
So is that the European model? More opportunities, more games of chance? Is that Europe?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to the UK or a lot of the regulated markets, France, Italy, they have all these things kind of already. They have table games, slots, sports betting, and just about anything you want to gamble on, all kind of under the same product. So that's obviously not something that exists yet anywhere in the United States. It's probably going to exist in New Jersey. They already have online casino gaming and online poker, and they're going to put sports betting next to it. So I think that's the opportunity. Is the next iteration of gaming is going. Everything's kind of going online, and it's a big opportunity for states and gaming interests.
That was going to be my kind of last and final question, Dustin, about online versus in-person, sort of at casinos with the sports books, and that's the talk here with, again, Twin River. You talk about the shift going online. Do you still see a market for folks going again to the locations themselves to partake?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's still an experience. I mean, you go to Nevada, which is now pretty much every casino that I know of has online wagering. But you go to a sports book during a big event like March Madness or the Super Bowl, the sports books are overflowing with people. They actually sell tickets to some of these things. It's not going to, it's not going to be the end of land-based gaming, any of this stuff. It's actually considered a way to cross-market, to market to other people who you might not have attracted before, or just want to bet on mobile and not on land. So it's, I think it's definitely an opportunity that there are going to be more opportunities, both land and online. And I don't think there's any reason to worry for casinos saying, oh, yeah, people are just going to bet mobily. They're not going to bet via our sports books if we have them. There's going to still be a big market for that as well.
Well, Dustin, I appreciate taking the time to pick your brain a little bit here today with this landmark Supreme Court decision. And is there anything we didn't cover?
I don't think so. It's my brain's still a little spinning. We didn't know when we did. We just woke up this morning. I'm actually out here on the West Coast, and we learned about the decision, and it was all systems go. So now, yeah, I'm like you. I'm trying to think of what the next stories are that we're going to do. So we'll see what those are.
Off to the races. Well, Dustin Gouker with Legal Sports Report. You can find him online. I appreciate your taking the time to Skype in here to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center in Providence. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Dustin Gouker, thank you. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with our next guest here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center.